All right, it is 5:30, so we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call. Council at Large Cummins.
Here.
At Large Postion.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Hembry. Here. Ward number 2 Helm.
Here.
And Ward number 3 McNeil.
Here.
A pledge. The agenda approval, there is a change. The recognition for Mr. Don Rosnow will be moved to the 24th. So with that change, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Cummins with the first.
Second.
And Helm with the second.
Postion,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Helm,
So, but we do still have the communications portion of the meeting. And if anyone would like to address the city council, this is the time. If you do, please make your way to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing that there are none, I'll close that portion of the meeting and we'll move on to the consent agenda. And these are items that can be enacted with one motion. That's the approval of the special council meeting minutes from December 14th, approval of another special council meeting minutes from December 16th, approval of the council meeting minutes from December 20th, approval of the library minutes from November 22nd, also the approval of the library director's report from November of last year, approval of a DRIP reimbursement to Stuart Clark in the amount of $7,500, approval of a TRIP reimbursement to Randy Amison in the amount of $7,500, the approval of a liquor license renewal for Tiger Mart, approval of pay application number 2 to Triple B Construction in the amount of $117,465.60, approval of a notice of change in rates to the contract for Lynch Dallas, the approval of the 2022 fire department officers, also the approval of the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy. Do any of these need to be pulled out? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Neil with the second.
McNeil,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Postion,
Yes.
Oh, almost jumped the gun, sorry. Now, we do have a public hearing for tonight. It's a public hearing regarding the proposed plans, the specifications, a form of contract, and the estimated cost of the Highway 38 and Cedar Street improvements. I do need a motion to open the public hearing. Cummins with the first.
Second.
And Helm with the second.
Hembry,
Yes.
Cummins, Helm,
Yes.
Postion,
Yes.
Or 5. So the public hearing is open. John Lutz is here. And over to you.
Okay. Good evening, I'm John Lutz with Origin Design, and we've been working on the Highway 38 reconstruction project for a while now with DOT. At the next council meeting, we'll be finishing up all the pay applications for the detour package that was constructed this fall. And be happy that work got all complete. along with the addition over to Lynn Street there to widen up that last block of work there. So then, this is the final design. This will all be let in one contract this coming 2 months here. And this is for the reconstruction of Cedar Street from South Street all the way to 7th Street. I had got Melissa showing just selected sheets from the plan set. And I'll go through these as we discuss the project. I've provided copies of that same thing for council members to look at, right? Any notes they want on it. So the DOT, this is considered the final plans, and the DOT likes to look through the final plan set right before it goes out to bidding. So they may have some comments that come back as well. And one comment came back yet today already that they want to make sure we have equal opportunity employment and disadvantaged business enterprise opportunity. Comment that came through today. I've got copies up there by Melissa of the actual plans. They're about 198 sheets, so it's no small task putting this plan set. Goes into that. Next sheet. Oh, that's the one there. Okay, so the project is divided into basically 2 different sections, from South Street to 3rd Street and from 3rd to 7th. So for this project, the first year, 2022, we'll have construction from South Street to 3rd Street. And downtown will not be affected basically at all. There's probably going to be special signage that we put up to let people know, hey, you can get to downtown. During the summer months, there will be a detour that'll be set up to go around on Lemon Street. Talk about that a little bit here. Also, another part of the project is to take fill material coming out of the street to build an embankment for a trail, and that basically is from Prairie Hills down to Alexander Drive. And so that we'll have that being constructed as part of the project. We're not going to put the asphalt down with the trail as part of this, but the rock will be there. We'll use asphalt millings from the roadway to place down just like. Yeah, so then the second section will be built in 2023, and that's when we'll have to focus more with downtown businesses and basically have weekly meetings talking about construction, sidewalks, and access and signing for that. Okay, so here are some specifications that talk about where the detour is and get pretty detailed here. One of the things is I got from Jason, the superintendent, the dates for school when it's out and then back into session. And we wrote these right into the contract to make sure that we were not putting detour traffic in there, that if the contractor tries to do that, he gets $1,200 a day penalty. But we're not going to allow that. We're just saying, hey, you have your work done each year by, I think it's the 18th and 19th of August is when they go back to session. Well, we'll have an inspector all the time to coordinate.
Question on the detour, because yeah, I think
It
it's.
is, I saw that. It's one that needs to go one block further up. The arrows do. construction basically, from April to June each year, they'll start on the water main parts of each section of the project and build out on the west half of the street. And during that time, they'll use barrier rail to cordon off that section of roadway to keep the utility trench separate from traffic on the road there. So we'll maintain traffic on 38 until, say, June 1st. And that will, and then the same thing will happen in the fall. They'll have the center 2 lanes paved through the whole project, and then one parking lane fully paved, such that if they need to, they can put a traffic barrier back and work on the trench or work on the remaining part of the roadway. August 18th, sidewalks alongside can be repaired while traffic's going up and down.
With the detours and the bypasses, are the residents going to be notified?
There will be as part of the project as we go, there will be a field office here in town, a trailer, or maybe we'll rent
Will they get some in the mail or anything saying?
there will be notifications, a schedule that comes every week. That's part of in the specs that's written here.
Okay.
They need to give businesses notice on any time when they won't be able to get in their door due to, like, if they were pouring the concrete right in front of their door, there's really no way that out in front for those. That's written into the contract unless they have to dig a trench just right there and then that trench is dug, utilities connected, backfill with rock, and then.
I meant like on 7th Street, the residents, because they'll see an influx of traffic.
As far as on the other routes,
Yeah, will they be notified?
we can make that happen.
Then who? Too.
And there will be a requirement to take parking off of Lemon Street, I imagine as well.
Because yeah, we've already started that in one part in front of the school, right?
But many businesses, you can to business and say that, they're going to be pouring, that your customers can go to the back door, and we'll see that there's signs there showing how customers can
to be poured so that it hits a weekend.
It might be tough for every individual doorway. Yeah.
okay, because I think we need to make accommodations.
And what I'd like to do is schedule. We can get the project
Yeah.
going, and then we can schedule some business owner meetings. As well, we talked to the county courthouse officials and reworking the sidewalk along there, and we knew that the bricks were going to be important. Some of them have names engraved in there, and we are not taking up bricks that have names in them. There's 3 courses of bricks that will have pulled out and replaced, and we coordinated that same person that installed those bricks will be the person that will remove, put them in storage, wait for the sidewalk to be finished, we don't want the contractor, county offered to actually do it that way. They on the end of the project, this is where it starts. You can see there's a, so north is to the right on your sheet. Then up the project, basically all the street from curb to curb gets reworked. There's a 10-foot wide concrete trail we're installing. Utilities underneath this area. Quite a few utilities to work with. There's in the fall here, we had installed a culvert extension and 42. Taking some of the drainage also off the side street, some of the local flooding in the area, the streets. There's also one here, that's along the top side here. So that allows them to do that work up front before we actually need to close the road. Rebuild this first 3 block section by the 8th. Third Street here. So we'll get, here's the transition just beyond the 3rd Street. This is an example sheet of the north tie-in showing 7th Street. We're widening the intersection on 7th to allow right turn truck getting into the right of way.
So the parking lot will be touched either?
The parking lot, well, part of the parking lot that is currently on the public right of way in the corner area. That'll get restriped back in diagonal fashion there. And, yep. Part of this project includes new streetlights on the north side and the south side of town. Lights in. The contractor will install all of the streetlights, and the city electric will do the trench. Ramps that are going to be new on each corner. So all throughout the project, DOT basically said you have to reconstruct any sidewalk that's out of code compliance. Funded. Basically all the downtown work from. They're not funding the replacement of the pavers, but all of the. Downtown, things get real detailed, do that. Put steps in front of the buildings, anything that's there now that's like a step and a stoop, the DOT allowed to stay. So at least we're not replacing an additional step here and there for access into a building. Area in order to make it work, we had to add basically a railing along longitudinally to the front. 30 feet just to ramp up and back down to make the door. Into making no slope greater than 1.5% and ramps up to every doorway and either matching curb or deciding, hey, we should tear this curb out and raise it up slightly to make it code compliant project to make things work and very detailed.
That illustration will look like putting in the same decorative. I don't
The configuration horizontal will be exactly the same.
Okay.
There's a 2-foot wide strip behind the curb that's concrete sidewalk. Then there's a 3-foot wide panel that is brick. It's got a gray on the outside and a red in the center.
Yep.
And we're going to maintain that. The spec that I have right now is for a little bit higher improved durability of a brick. I noticed some of them were flaking and coming up. Higher strength pavers, but to match the same color for the whole. there's about like 3 per block. They weren't gonna allow those because basically that else can be code grants for ADA for basically that we don't want to verse pavers in there, only the band. Sheet is the schedule here. We're at the public hearing tonight, and January 24th is scheduled to approve the plan specifications and set the bid date. The bid letting date is proposed to be February. And between then and March 7th for DOT concurrent. All you have to go through this because they're putting funds on this. They need to see the bid tab, and unless there's any reason why it'd be other than a low bidder, which I'm saying it wouldn't be. Concurrence, DOT concurrence would be taken care of, and we would award this March 7th. Approve contracts and bonds on March 21st, and with an early start date of April 1st. Now, he doesn't have to start, the contractor does not have to start April 1st. They're going to fall behind if they don't get a quick start here. Basically on the 29th or 30th of May, but they don't have to. They could say, oh, we'll wait a week longer for what. They can, but at the end of the year, of the summer, they have to close the detour by, it's the 18th or 19th of August for each summer. So then South Street to 3rd Street gets done basically this year, and 3rd to 7th is in 2023. Because of the excess material, we're gonna have more than enough material coming out of the street actually to build the embankment on the south end, significantly more. And it's possible that all of that embankment will be built this first year. This fall yet. And then the contractor will need to find a location to get rid of, I think, 1,000 yards. There's a lot of dirt in the trench excavations and in the roadway. Ask the city if there's any close area. And the next sheet is showing construction cost estimate. Here are the engineer's estimate for the, basically looking at all the quantities, all the best guess on unit prices, and 6 million, putting the contingency on, which I like to do that. You never know how bids are going to come in, and plus a lot of material prices have gone up here, and some of them have increased actually about 30% in the last year here. So probably need to be ready for a bid up to about money and a significant amount of it. I do the project we've had on the DOT has already been reimbursing for some of that. Is that right? Things are going well with that. And with that, I'd take any questions.
Correct. Two more. Do you know what the proposed timeline for that overlay heading out of town is?
I do not. I can ask DOT further and see what kind of headway they have made on that.
And then the last one is, we're bidding this out as a, as a whole project. Is there any, I don't want to use the word fine, but is there any motivation in the contract, like if the contractor doesn't start on time and doesn't end this on time that first year, it'll put the second year behind?
There's each year, the November 30th date, each year they pay $1,500 a day. Each year, plus it's, hey, there's $1,200 a day in the summer at the end of
Okay.
$300 a day, right?
after the November 30th each fall.
But after the August 17th and 18th of those 2 years, that they still have to have the detour up, it's $1,200 a day.
At least put that on each year, such that you just can't think you'll make it up the next year.
Okay.
You know, if something happened to go awry the first year for whatever reason, we could shorten the project up to just prior to. And we'd be doing that. The reason we would do that is if, for whatever reason, we'd have to basically say you have to button it up. And you got that penalty or whatever. So we,
We've been as a whole or per project?
it's all one contract.
Okay.
There'll be a general contractor with a whole bunch of subs.
Any questions? Jason and Tim, anything? I guess not.
Is there,
You were there for a second, Jason, then you got muted.
so me and Tim really can't hear anything? It's cutting in and out really bad. Can we call in? When we call in the number, it does the same thing.
Steve, you've said your sound has been okay, hasn't it?
Mine? No, it's cutting out. It's cutting in and out pretty bad. And I just talked to Tim on the phone and his was doing the same thing.
This is John.
Mine's doing it every once in a while as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll just keep going with it.
John Lutz is right here. He wanted to ask you a question.
Is there any questions in particular or concerns that you might have on the project?
With
want
you?
me to-
Nope, John. From what I got from you, everything's pretty well detailed and covered.
Tim, anything? Okay. All right. Thanks, Jason. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Lutz? All right, then, I would ask Cummins with the first.
So close.
Got it. And Helm, I'm pretty sure with the second.
Hembry,
Yeah.
Cummins, Helm,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes. Yes.
McNeil.
Yeah, he's logged off. All right, so down to new business. And actually, Holly asked that we table this.
Yes. When we were preparing the agenda, this was something that we were going to have to bring to council based off of having a requirement to have it in place by today. But since then, there has been no ruling from the Supreme Court, but Iowa Division of Labor has put their ruling on it. So at this point, we're tabling it unless, until we can bring you further information or something that needs to be talked about.
So I'd ask for a motion to table.
Motion.
Cummins with first.
Second.
And McNeil.
There's-
We'll go with McNeil. He's back. McNeil with the second.
Cummins.
Yes.
Helm.
Yeah.
Austin,
Yes. Yes.
McNeil,
Yes. Yes.
Hembry,
All right, the second one, which is discussion of possible action concerning air conditioning and heat for the aquatic center. Adam?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's been no heat for a while. I think Brian Kraus is on the line. He could probably explain a lot better than I can.
Nope.
Because, Brian,
yeah.
you still on there?
Yes, Brian Kraus is on.
Okay, he can explain the bid a lot better than I can. His associate Bobby came up and while he was gone and gave us the bid. And Adam Fitch came up with the idea. He walked through the whole facility as myself, walked through and looked at everything and came up with a good game plan. And that's the quote that they gave us.
All right, Mr. Kraus.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So right now we're having an issue with there's two units up there, RHU 1 and 2. That handles the locker room / office area front. And we're just finding multiple problems. We noticed when we were up there 2 or 3 weeks ago that we have one unit has a leak in it, refrigerant leak. The other unit on the other side is having the same issue. We had to put refrigerant in it to get it running. Also, we are also having an issue with CI3, and that the two units are also hooked to Johnson Controls. So there's a third party. So it's always a fight between CI3 and Johnson Control on whose problem it is. So currently the new unit or the DHU for the pool area are being controlled by CI3, but they never switched the other 2 units over totally to CI3. So CI3 can only do so much. So we had Johnson Control up there, and there's a lot of unknowns. The other thing that they were trying to do is try to figure out the password to get into the system. They couldn't even figure that out. Also, there's some wiring issues between the unit up or between the 2 units, and we also have the heating unit for the makeup air on the one side on RHU 1 is completely like parted out. I think whoever was there before took parts and moved it over to the other side. It's just, like I said, we're almost getting to the point where, that's why they brought up of bringing furnaces down below, which I think by the time you spend the money on fixing up the existing units, I did get a price, Adam, from Desert Air on those compressors. They are available, but the problem is you're going to spend at least $9,000 for just a set of compressors for that unit.
And also the R22, when you say anything about that, Brian?
Yeah, so R22 is getting really expensive and it's getting hard to find. Of course, those units are R22 units, and it's just the expense. Right now, the one unit holds 20 pounds, and a 30-pound jug of R22 is right around $1,400 to $1,500, and that's if you can find it.
So, Brian, in your estimation, this will cure what ails us on this part of the building.
That is correct. Yes. And the other thing is anybody can work on that furnace and air conditioner, because those RHU units up there requires you have to have a service tech up there, and if you're having problems with communications with is being controlled by pretty much two controllers, CI3 and Johnson Controls. I mean, so I had to have, that was the biggest thing. It was the fight between Johnson Controls and CI3 because they kept pointing fingers at each other. So finally, to be honest with you, Johnson Controls was the ones that really stepped up and actually looked into it and spent time up there to try to figure out what the problem was, which, like I said, we had multiple problems up there. We still have CI3 driving it, but we still, what it comes down to is just everything, controls have to be updated. But when you do a regular furnace and air conditioner, it's going to have just a plain Jane thermostat, nothing fancy, and it can be controlled, because right now, Adam can't even control no heat. You know, he can't control anything in that building. It's all done automation.
And then, Brian, what do you think the timeline is for this?
The way it sounded, the furnace, we're waiting for the furnace to come in. They were thinking like the end of this week. I don't know. Bobby sent that email out, Adam. I didn't see that. I seen it come through, but I didn't really look into it.
He told me he probably would know more by the end of today. And then he was hoping that they would try to get guys up there next week sometime to install.
Yeah,
hopefully.
That's what I thought. So I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Because that was our full intention of just getting a furnace set in there and getting in gas pipes so we can start blowing heat in that building.
All right. Any questions for Adam or Brian? Seeing there are none, is there a motion to approve this expenditure? Cummins with the first? Second. And Helm with the second?
Helm,
Yes.
Bastian,
Yes, and I'd just like to add, I hope at some point this thing stops bleeding us. We need to make sure we hold those accountable that have done stuff. It's starting to get pretty ridiculous. But thank you, Kraus, for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
McNeil,
Yes.
Hembry,
Yes.
Cummins.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Kraus, and thanks for all your help.
Thank you.
All right. So that concludes the new business, and down to the reports. The mayor's report, I have nothing this week. Council, committee, sitting in city manager, and department heads. Seeing there are none, that moves us down to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
McNeil with
Second.
first, Cummins with the second.
Cummins.
Yep.
Bastian,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Hembry,
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.